Hi, this is Daniela, and welcome to Bestie Life, the podcast, where we help you stop burnout now. If you're tired of running on empty, juggling all the things, and wondering when your life is supposed to feel better, you're in the right place. This show is your go-to space for real talk and practical strategies to help you protect your energy, create balance, and actually enjoy the life you're working so hard for. You'll get a mix of solo episodes and honest conversations with guests. My goal is to help you feel less alone, more empowered, and way more in control of your time and energy and well-being. So let's get into it. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast. And today I'm excited for this conversation I get to have with Helene Rennervik. She believes life is a continuous journey of discovery, and there's ups and downs in everybody's lives. And I know she's been through her share as well, but they have helped lead her on this journey to help not only herself, but others uncover their strengths, discover their values, and find alignment and purpose in your day-to-day life. And I know that doesn't even cover the breadth of everything you do, Helen, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited because nothing is prepared. So it's all, from my heart to everyone's heart. And that's what I love.
Absolutely. I love just having these organic, natural conversations of whatever kind of comes up. But can you share a little bit, at least as far as with my audience, of your journey and your story and how you got to where you are today?
I started with interior design. Then I joined corporate job in marketing and sales, promotions, events. I stayed with that company for 15 years. So I learned a lot during that time in leadership and also being creative. And I had two more kids during that time, three more kids I had during that time. So I have two daughters and two sons, and I'm very, very proud of them. And moving forward, my mother, she died from lung cancer, and my ex-mother-in-law also died from lung cancer. And all of a sudden, I'm like, what do I want to do with my life? I was in my 41 then. And it can come in life, all of a sudden you stop. Is this where I'm going to be? And I had a great job. I had a great career, but I'm like, what do I want to do? I wanted to do something else. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I left that job after 15 years, which you usually don't do when you're on a career growth, but I did. And I wanted to search for myself. I got a career coach. And all of a sudden, I had to start to look inside me. And she also all of a sudden saw, wow, now Helen is starting taking these layers off. And all of a sudden, my colors came up because working in a corporate job, all of us there, I had been conformed to be in a certain way. You speak a certain way, you dress a certain way, and all, which is all fine. But I didn't fit into that anymore. I, I didn't, I had never had to identify what are my values. I knew what my values were. I was family and this, but what is my core values? What is Helen's strength without all those titles? Because, I can be a daughter, a mother, a sister, a wife. These are all titles and all the other titles, but that's not who Helen is. Who is Helen? So then I went into health and fitness because, that was the opposite what I had been selling before, which was cigarettes. And, that was also, but maybe it was a little bit of escape because I've always loved fitness and health and all these things, but maybe was it a little bit of, going out to do good in the world. So then I went in and I got myself as a PT, a group exercise in all sorts, nutrition and this and whatever. And I loved that. And I did that. It was totally different. It was not a corporate flashy job, but I was happy in what I was doing. And then in 2015, my youngest son, Yusuf, he was 9 years old. He was at school. And then because being in corporate, I had to put so much time into work. I prioritized my family too, but work, and the higher you climb, the more time I needed to be there. So all of a sudden, my youngest son then, I didn't really have time with him. I saw him sleeping when I left in the morning. I came back. I used to cry. And And his dad was like, okay, but maybe you should quit your job then. And, obviously that was, there. So I did quit. And that's why I went into health and fitness. And I wanted to do something so I could work, but still be with my kids. So there's 18 years difference between my first and my last. So there's a big gap there. So, they're all different ages. And I got a call from his school. He was doing an after school activity, and they said, your son has fallen and he's probably broken his leg. We took him fast forward into the hospital, and he had a broken leg. Okay, that was a big thing for me because, I had never had a broken leg with him before. So, planning all that. And then 3 weeks later, again, he fell and we went into the hospital. And I'm very happy that they called us back because they thought it was a broken leg, but it turned out that we needed more tests. And 2 days later, they came to me and said, we believe Yusuf has got Ewing sarcoma. And I'm like, Ewing is a friend of his. Sarcoma, I know, is a cancer. Then my whole world turned around. And he's well today. He's 19
Good.
today. So, a lot of
Yep.
people are waiting there. Sometimes life throws you things just for you to stop. What is really important? I know health is extremely important, but health physically is very, very important. But what controls everything? Your mind. That's why when he was sick with cancer, I had a lot of tools and this and whatever. I'm very happy for that. But then after he came out of that, people said, oh, you're not going to go back into, being a PT. And then I'm like, no, I want to do something different. And that's when I went and studied and became a coach, where I still love, the fitness and the nutrition. I think that's very important to release all, stress and so on. But your mind is so important. So that's
Yeah.
my life. Now I have
Yeah.
returned to Sweden after all these years that I was living abroad.
Yeah, that mind body connection, I think, is definitely a huge piece. But I love in your story, you highlight what I think so many, especially women, go through, where we lose ourselves a little bit when we're working our careers and in motherhood. We have these, like you said, titles, but that doesn't necessarily means that that's who we are, even though we use those words to define us in so many ways. And hopefully not everybody goes through all the things that you've been through with the losses and your son's cancer and everything like that. But I think sometimes we do need that wake up a little bit to shift and be like, hey, am I completely aligned in what I'm doing and who I am? Or am I just defining myself by these day-to-day actions? So if, someone's listening and just even wondering and questioning, is this the right fit? Are there certain questions that you ask or have people kind of ask themselves in this process?
There's so many. I live by question.
Maybe let's start with the top three, maybe.
But let's start with one thing. So, whose life are you living? Because are we living somebody else's life? It's very important to know, because did I choose to do this myself? And, when we know our values, know your values, your core values, because those are the ones that will lead you to where you want to be and what you want to do. And they never, when you feel into your gut and know your value, then you know that this is right for me. We should never not trust our gut feeling. I did that for many years. I cannot find it up here in my mind because, that's not there. So whose life are you living? And you wanted 3 questions for...
Possibly, yeah. This first one I like, it's because when you say whose life are you living, a lot of times we say we know our values, like you said, family, fitness, those kind of things. But if the life you're living day to day doesn't allow you the time to be with your family, to maybe be for fitness, to be healthy, those kind of things, that's where I think that gut is yelling at you. This isn't in alignment, because it doesn't always stand out like a big sign, but recognizing that conflict, I think, is one piece of that. What would be another question then?
Yeah. So also, what are, to find out what are your values. I mean, there could be so many values. Shorten them down, I mean, I have 3, and That's just, I didn't know them before, but I know today that I still live by them, but I didn't define them.
Mm-hmm.
Honesty, that means that I want you to be honest with me. If I can tell, if I meet someone, okay, who is Helen? So
Yep.
Helen is honest, she tells the truth, and I'm curious. All of a sudden, you don't need to know my name, you don't need to know my title, but all of a sudden, you know me a little bit more. What are my strengths? So, I've worked with Gallup Strengths Finder, so there's 34 talents there. My top 5 strengths is positivity, empathy, woo, strategic, and communication. This is something I do today, and it will not take my energy away because of course there's things I do that maybe it's not that pleasant, that I don't prefer. But if I think about, okay, what am I doing? I listen to people. It doesn't mean that I'm always positive, but I always try to find something, because positivity for you might be different for me. But if I
Mm-hmm.
can help you, or if I can help myself, because being positive is also maybe, okay, maybe I'm not feeling so great, today, but what's one thing I could do to be a little bit more, at ease with myself? Not easy, but at ease.
Mm-hmm.
And joy, joy. And then empathy is something, yeah, I can listen to you, I hear you. It doesn't mean that I need to go in and feel the same feelings as you, but so now all of a sudden I'm doing this, and I can sit and have these conversations, because I cannot be the best person if to help you if I'm going to be, you sit there and cry and whatever, and I take that on. So it's just, knowing your own self.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also important when we know that with ourselves, okay, if I'm going to help myself, how can I help myself?
Mm-hmm.
By knowing my truth, because that doesn't have to be the truth of yours, and it's not your reality either, it's not mine. But we have to allow ourselves to be standing in our truth, and also allow other people to be who they want to be, so we don't get these, you know tug of war all the time, because that can be
Yeah.
very draining.
Yeah. Can you share what was the name of that tool you used again, just in case anybody missed it? Because I love the fact that it helped kind of spell out some of those things that
Mm,
you maybe can't always put your finger on
mm.
when it
So
comes
you
to,
mean the assessment?
yes,
Yeah. So Gallup Strength Finder,
Gallup Strength.
it
Okay.
has 34 talents, and we all have them. It's no right or wrong and this and whatever. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
I do myself something called disc, so extended disc, and then again we can, because we are just different. And but
Absolutely.
but you and I could have the same letters, let's say, but then depending on our values, we seem like two different persons. It
Mm-hmm.
helps me when I work with others, but it also helps me knowing who I am. And sometimes if I'm working with someone and I'm going to be in my lively and this and whatever, they might look at you and you are used, like a fairy, or a unicorn. But
Mm-hmm.
that's who I am. Sometimes, when we work with others, we have to kind of see who are they, so I can listen to them if I'm if
Right.
I'm going to help them. But that's a very good tool to know. And I do believe, like, if parents have children, let them develop their strength,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
it's so easy to go in, oh, you're not good at this, you're not good, but then why dwell on that? Look at where you're happiest and where you feel most energetic, because that is your strength.
Right. As well as when you have a growth mindset, so many times, that growth mindset is not about putting boundaries and parameters about what's possible. It's about expanding, I always love the word of the use yet. Just because you're not good at something right now, I'm not good at math yet. I'm not good at soccer yet. And by adding that word, you're not putting a limit to what you're able to achieve and participate in just because of where you are at that actual moment.
Of course, yes, 100%. But again, just to, explore different things.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we could, if I had become a certain, I went and studied to become a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm stuck in that. But maybe I will be a different lawyer than you, but if we haven't really explored, I'm just going in there because that's what I should do and I need this title. But what else? Because we could be a lawyer and have all our other natural skills that you have, because then you will live more joyful. And I believe when we are in that alignment with who we are and where we feel best, not on the outside, but we can only find that inside, then we
Mm-hmm.
live and we become a better person. And I believe then we are a better role model in the world. And, then it's better synergy everywhere.
Right. And like you said, it's about doing that inner work first rather than just doing the things on the outside. Because if you're not feeling great, doesn't matter what you do on the outside, it's not going to change that underlying piece. So asking yourself, whose life are you living? Kind of identifying your strengths, whether on your own or through these tools and things like that, are great ways to start to really kind of ground yourself in who you are. It probably builds confidence, builds your self-esteem, builds your own kind of compass to guide you in the direction you're going to go, right?
That is very good. The compass in the direction where you should go. I mean, it's better for the world when we are, living in our truth and not finding it on the outside, because we can admire other people, but that's also something that I believe. Look at some people, like 3 people that you admire, and look at them. What are the things that you admire in them?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, those are the things that you have inside yourself too.
Yeah, I heard this quote once that said the phrase must be nice is actually an arrow pointing back in the things that you want to have, need to have, that type of thing. Because like you said, when we're looking at other people and what we admire, that's kind of what we're striving for. So if someone is listening to this right now and they're thinking, I can't leave my job, I have to, still keep doing these things. It sounds like what you're talking about isn't necessarily, even though it could be about changing your vocation, it could just be changing how you're showing up in the places that you are currently, whether it's the people you're around, the tasks that you're doing, that type of thing. I think when you show up different, you give a different kind of flavor to all of it and a different experience for yourself and everyone else. Would you say that's true?
Yes, I 100% agree. And also, you are your business. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter if you work in a job where you go to someone else, you have your own business, but you are your business. And look at the things that you do like, because maybe you can find, maybe you are in a organization, maybe you are in the wrong job there. I mean, it depends. And I always believe that if you ask, you shall receive. You can ask, is there and show, maybe you I mean, you should never be in a job where you really are not feeling good at all. I mean, that then you have to look at something else. But again, is it the job that you don't like? Is it the organizations that you don't like? And again, what are their values? Because if
Mm-hmm.
their values are not aligned with your values, you're never going to be satisfied in that job. You won't, because that is going, maybe you don't know. So if you don't know your values, but most of the companies have, these are our core values. Okay, look at them. Even if you go and apply for a job, even if it sounds like great job, but look, what are their core values?
So, one of the things I always love to ask my guests as well, especially when it comes to being aligned with your values, with your self care and that type of thing, is when it comes to gratitude, because I think it's just an underutilized form of self care, but is so powerful in affecting how we think about things, how we view situations, our appreciation. So, what would you say are maybe the top 1 or 2 things you're the most grateful for?
I'm grateful for God. I'm
Mm-hmm.
grateful for my children. I'm grateful for my health. Even when you're down. So when Yusuf got sick and he all of a sudden I knew that I have to be grateful for this moment. This
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
moment. So I'm grateful for this moment because I didn't know. But that can be so every day. So I'm very grateful for every moment. Now I'm grateful for I'm here, because if I'm not going to be grateful for you and me meeting and we are here, I can't go back to the past. That's already there. And if we're living too much to go forward, then we are missing out of here. So being in this moment is probably what I'm very grateful for. And every morning when I wake up, be grateful for all the amazing things I have around. Don't take water for granted. I have that.
Mhm.
I can breathe air. Every morning when I wake up and get grounded on the floor and just, oh wow, I'm alive today. What a gift. What a
Mhm.
gift. Because if I'm going to think about all the other things, I mean, then maybe I would be really, really depressed. But to be here today, to be able to wake up, to be able to breathe, to be able to move, to be able, yes, if I can move my eyes. Because, and I do believe when we are around people and you see, people that have hard time, that's the time again when you're grateful, yes, for the small things, more things will show up.
No, I think those are definitely looking, like you said, from that inside and the small things and just appreciating it is where it gives you that power then to kind of take that and give it forward in those types of things. So how can people work with you, Helen? How can they find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn, which is
Mhm.
easiest to find me, or they can find me on my website, helenrennervik.com. And I also have a little gift for everyone today is the
Oh, awesome.
people pleaser
Mm-hmm.
quiz that I have made because I work with givers,
Mm-hmm.
because I love that givers, they give others, but sometimes it can be really hard to be that people pleaser. I have been that,
Yeah.
but that's why I have learned to set those boundaries. So this people pleaser quiz, is very short, but it will help you to identify how much of your energy is going towards saying yes when you really mean no.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually live, because we have to fill our own cup before we give to others. And that goes also for mothers, that 100% we have to be there for our children, because they can't live without us. And
Mm-hmm.
when Yusuf was sick, I had to be there for him, but I forgot a little bit about filling my own cup. So then afterwards, I did that. So sometimes, maybe there will be some time when we have to help others, but we shouldn't forget every day. And that's what you said, like with gratitude, that helps a lot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, thank you
Mm.
so much, Helen, for
Thank
joining
you.
us today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you got something out of this episode that really made you feel seen, supported, or just a little bit more grounded. If you have any questions or thoughts, I'd love to hear from you. And if you're up for it, please leave me a 5-star review. That will help more people find the show and join this community. I'll leave you with 2 of my favorite quotes. Alone we may be strong, but together we're stronger. And when we support each other, incredible things happen. So let's keep showing up for ourselves and each other, and maybe even have some fun while we're at it. I'll talk to you soon.